Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. Yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host. And Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Mindset Monday. Mindset Monday is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And today we are talking about fatherhood. It is still Men's Health Month. June is Men's Health Month. And so fatherhood is what we are covering, but specifically why some fathers are missing in action. I have the founders of Fathers M.I.A, which is based down in the MIA, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And I am super excited and delighted to have them joining me tonight. But before I bring them on, I want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? Where are you joining us from? In the comments, let us know. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube, Conversations with Nicole. So in the comments, put your city and state. Put your city and state so we can give you a shout out. This is an interactive live. We fully expect to hear from you, your comments, your questions. We're here for it. So safe space for us to dialogue with one another and just love on one another and learn something new about my guests and the great and wonderful things that they are doing. So again, live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and tonight's topic is fatherhood. Why are some fathers missing in action? I know we have Father's Day. June is a time that we celebrate fathers, but this organization, Fathers M.I.A, seeks to bridge the gap between fathers and their children. So I see Mr. Karen Montgomery, a clinician in Orlando. Hadn't seen you in a while, my brother. Thank you for being on here. We appreciate you. Tag a friend, let them know they need to be on here. This is going to be a great conversation. And this conversation is not just for fathers, but for those who love fathers, for those who love children, and see why fathers are important and why we need them in the lives of our children. So while I'm waiting for some others to join us, I am going to go ahead and read some of my guest bio. So Gernald Hawkins Sr. is the founder of Fathers M.I.A, an organization that bridges the gap between fathers and their children. The organization's principle is to mentor, support, challenge, assist, and advise fathers as they actively engage in rebuilding relationships with their children. The foundation also endeavors to assist and guide young men and women who seek to initiate the rebuilding process. From the very beginning, Gernald's vision for Fathers M.I.A has been to provide fathers with a fighting chance to positively reunite with their child or children. The vision is fulfilled in Fathers M.I.A.'s comprehensive core curriculum for fathers, which hopefully we will get into some of that in just a little bit. But Janal has been adopted. Having been adopted as an infant, grew with the motivation to dedicate his life to emphasizing the importance of fatherhood. He has served his country in the U.S. Army. After years of service and receiving an honorable discharge, he served over 20 years with the U.S. Postal Service and retired in 2021. He serves as a mentor, motivator, and a leader at his place of worship in South Florida. He also served as an advisor to many nonprofit organizations and spent time as a counselor with the Distinguished Gentleman Mentoring Program for Young Men. At Miramar High School, he served as a chaplain and mentor for football team. He also spent many years coaching and developing life skills in the Little League and Optimist football players. A native of Florida, married to Regina. I hope I'm saying that right, Hawkins, and they have 3 children. Y'all help me welcome Gernald Hawkins.
Hi,
Yay!
good evening. How are you tonight,
Doing
Nicole?
well, doing well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So I am going to go ahead and bring Robert on. So just bear with me one moment. Robert L. Jackson III is respected as a lecturer, teacher, coach, and leadership mentor, co-founder of Fathers M.I.A. Robert believes a father is a function and not a title. Yes, and strongly believes that a father is the foundation of the home and that everything stems from the father. I'm gonna need look, I need you to record that for me, Robert, when you come on here, because some fathers, I don't think they notice. He has over 18 years of leadership experience in corporate America. He has held positions like Chief Operating Officer, Executive Director, and Call Center Management, just to name a few. In the church, he has held positions from assistant pastor, youth pastor, minister, armor bearer, musician. His education ranges from major in business administration and a minor in theology from Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He has a wife. He and his wife launched Totally One, a marriage enhancement organization. Robert is a certified marriage counselor and believes the principles are essential to developing fathers. Robert L. Jackson III is joyfully married to Monique Jackson, and he is also the proud father of 2. Y'all help me welcome Robert Jackson. Yeah.
Hello, Nicole. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. How you doing, Mr. Hawkins?
Hey, what's going on, Mr.
Uh,
Jackson?
So, what I typically ask my guests, which I want you both to respond, but we're going to start with Janard first, is who are you? I mean, I just described some of what you have done, but in your own words, I want you to tell us who are you?
Well, my name's Gernald Hawkins, of course. My military buddies call me Hawk, and my friends call me Hawk. But
Okay.
listen, I am a passionate man who believes in fatherhood, who believes in family, and who believes that the man is the structure and the foundation of the home. We believe in fathers being there for their kids. And I always say, listen, you don't have to be in the home, but you must spend time with your child because time is very important. So I'm an advocate for fathers, but I'm an advocate for family.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, Robert. Who is Robert L. Jackson III?
I'm Robert L. Jackson III. So, of course, that was 2 others before me, my father and my great grandfather. And one of the things that uh, I tell people, I didn't have the opportunity to meet my grandparents on either side of the family, my mother or my father's parents. So I didn't have the opportunity to be spoiled, but I learned so much of things from my dad, Robert Jackson Jr. He taught me how to be a man, what to look for. And so I'm just an example here to what God has called me to be and to what God has called me to influence in the earth. I'm here to help people find and discover their calling, their purpose, and who they are so they can be successful in life in whatever area, whatever arena that they've called to. My job is to help push them, motivate them. My job is to understand and protect the sanctity of the family through the father's aspect. There are so many organizations, so many programs out there that will give you more and do more for you if the father is removed or not in the home. Even government systems will give you more assistance. How can you say it's a family when that father is not there? Who's the function? Who is the foundation? And I always I get excited, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But that's who I am. I'm very passionate about this. The founder, Gernal and I, we're not just in it just to be in it, but we are very passionate about this. We see the need for it, and we want to represent the families in a way that is not being represented in today's society from the father aspect.
Nice. Well, pleasure to have you both on and share a little bit about yourselves with the viewers. So we have a few people chiming in. I see Mr. Marcus Boston, who is out of the Tampa area. Thank you for being here. My sister down in South Florida, Shay, who is down in Broward County. Thank you for being here. So, again, y'all tag some folks. Let them know they need to be on here because, listen, these brothers are going to drop some gems tonight. I actually met Gernald on Facebook. I
Yes.
I think I tagged him or something or sent him something in Messenger. He looked at my video. I went to his page, looked at his video, and was like, "Who are you? What do you do?" And so we talked and found out that we had a number of people in common. Mrs. Blaniva Jones, who was my fifth grade teacher, but who was also his pastor's wife over at, is it pronounce the name?
Cornelia Worship Center.
Yes, Cornelia. And so Sean Pittman, also someone that we have in common. I think Sean is related to you some kind of way, right?
Yes. Well, Sean's sister is married to my brother.
Exactly. And so yeah, we, it is a small world. So again, just excited to have you both on here tonight. Let me give greetings to Vanetta. Vanetta is in Charlotte, North Carolina. She is a clinician. Thank you for being here, Vaughn. All right, so let's get started. Let's get started with fatherhood and why some fathers might be MIA.
Well, I think that with us dealing with the fathers, there are some fathers who are missing in action, MIA. But let me just give you the background of Fathers M.I.A. Fathers
Okay.
M.I.A. Fathers M.I.A. was started. We were mentoring young kids, and we always noticed that the mothers would bring the children to the mentorship program, and the fathers were always MIA. Even when I used to coach Little League football, I would notice that a lot of the fathers weren't there, and the mothers were dropping the kids off to practice. The fathers were always MIA. With that, I started telling my business partner, Mr. Jackson, about the vision that was given to me, dealing with these kids whose fathers are missing in action. But Fathers M.I.A. instead of standing for fathers missing in action, the meaning of Fathers M.I.A. is fathers motivated, involved, and active. We want to move fathers that are missing in action to motivated, involved, and active. Mr. Jackson, he really took the ball with the organization and got it up and running. And we've been going ever since. But I think some of the reasons that fathers aren't in the life of their fathers, there are a few reasons. Sometimes there's a roadblock with the mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the mothers keep their exes away from their children because of the fact that various reasons. He's not with me anymore, or he's with someone else that I don't like. So you're not seeing my child because you're with her. Then there's reasons to the point where their fathers are not there because of the fact that they're locked up.
Mm-hmm.
They're in prison. We have a lot of fathers there. Did you know that I think is it 92%?
Yes.
92% of parents that are in prison are fathers.
What?
92% of parents that are in prison are fathers.
Whoa.
So if you are in prison, who is raising your child? Who is guiding your child? There's a lot of some fathers, because of the fact that they feel as if they're not financially able to support their children. Sometimes that causes them with low self-esteem, and they're missing in action. So there are various reasons. I don't want to take up all the time. I know Mr. Jackson back there. He ready to hop in like we double dutch. So I'm gonna go ahead and tag him on in here.
Listen, Miss Everett, don't let him get you like that. Mr. Hawkins, I'm sitting back listening because he's the visionary. I'm the co-founder, and we just really bounce off one another. But he had a great understanding of what it was on his mind to do as far as tackling the families, children through a father aspect. And so one of the reasons that I agree with everything he said is that fathers sometimes don't have the skill set, the capability. And so with men, we're a little funny creatures, because if we feel that we can't do it, we don't have the skill set to do it, or the knowledge to do it, we won't tackle it. We won't take it on, because we don't want to walk in that area of being vulnerable. We don't want to be vulnerable to things. And so, and not saying it's right, but I'm just giving an example of where some men, they've never been fathered themselves. They don't know how to be a father. So that's where I'm coming from. They don't know how to be a father. They've never been fathered themselves. They haven't seen good fathers or good role models through their life. So they
Mm.
think it's okay for the mother to handle it, to take care of the child. I don't know. I don't have the skill set. I don't know how to do certain things. So I just rather back off and not mess it up. They feel they may mess it up instead of
Mm.
bringing enhancing it, or making it better. And again, it's about being vulnerable to a situation of not having the skills, the tools, the knowledge, the information, and the understanding how to be a father. Because again, when you read the information about me, I really believe fatherhood is a function and not a title. You
Yeah.
have to have the understanding, and it takes time. It
Mm.
really does. You have to do the research. You have to go after the information to get the understanding, so you can walk in wisdom about being a father. And that's one of the things too, I believe, because they don't want to be vulnerable. Men don't want to be vulnerable. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the skill set. They didn't see it in their history, so they didn't look at it as being that important. As far as, if they're there, if they're not there, the mother will take up the slack.
So I want to pause and acknowledge some folks, but I got a question or two for you all. I see you, Miss Kiosha. Thank you for being here. Marcus said he's glad his father was very present in his life, and we are too, Marcus, because that is very important. My mom is here from Miami. I appreciate you being on here, Mom. And then Miss Pumpkin is here from Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. So you mentioned men being funny creatures, and I'm glad you admitted that publicly. And so my question is around, have you all had men admit that, just as you're saying, that they don't know how to father, because they've never been a father before? Maybe they didn't have good role models. And if a man were to admit that to you, what would you say to him?
Well, the thing is, yes. The reason I'm hesitating about that, yes, we have had men to admit that they did not know how to be a father, didn't have good role models. But however, it is still hard for men to admit that they are not a good father, or, for lack of a term, a deadbeat father, or not a productive father.
Mm-hmm.
Men, we won't admit some of those things. We won't admit those flaws that we have, because we see ourselves as strong, so we don't want to admit any flaws. But
Yeah,
when the ones that go ahead,
yes,
Miss Hawk.
our egos sometimes won't let us admit to that.
But when the ones do admit it, that is the key to where you now have opened up the door for change, because now you see that there has been a lack. Now you see that there is a need. And so now you're open to get the knowledge and information to proceed now to being a father, or being a better father, because now you see that you didn't have the skills, or you do understand you haven't been there. And that's just the key. And then when we do that, we let them know that, hey, we understand you are important. We make them feel at that point, and let them know how important they are, because there's so many things that only can really come from the nature and the aspect of the father. Nothing against the women, but there's just certain things that are lined up and that are designed to actually come from the father. And one of them is just something simple as this: when if the mother and the father are together, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a child born out of those two that are united together,
Mm-hmm.
um, the child does what? When they're born, they take upon the father's last name. So
Mm-hmm.
that now that means they receive identity. They know where they came from. It's hard to move forward when you don't know where you came from, your identity. And
Come
so
on now.
those are one of the things that a child receives from the father: identity. And it's important to know who you are.
You have said something right there. Hold on. Marjorie is on here. Thank you for being here, Marjorie. She said, we know it to be true. with voluntary backing away, but this is the first time I heard it said out loud. This is such a validating statement. Her question is, how do you counter that behavior to encourage a man to participate without judgment?
Listen, we've had healing circles for men.
Mm,
Men are, I mean, you see men breaking down, crying
mm-hmm,
because of the fact that their father rejected them,
mm-hmm,
didn't want him to have anything to do with them. Their fathers would walk right by them, not even acknowledge them.
mm-hmm,
We as humans, we want to be acknowledged in in some capacity. With that comes hurt and pain, and if that hurt and pain is not ministered to, either redirected in the right direction, only thing that's going to do is cause more hurt and pain. So what it does, it's a generational cycle.
mm-hmm,
And I tell people all the time, sometimes there are people out here that don't even know what it is to have a relationship with a grandfather, not alone a father, because of the fact that their father wasn't there, their father wasn't there. So you always hear everyone talk about Big Mama, but sometimes you never hear anyone say anything about their grandfather,
mm-hmm,
because of the fact that generational, we have really men. Sometimes we have really messed this thing up, and in order for us to get our community back together in the order that it needs to be in, we men definitely have to be in the place of our children's lives and our
mm-hmm.
children's heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whew. So I'm glad I put down solutions, healing circles for men,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because I think that that is an important solution that I don't think community uses as much as we should.
Mhm.
I think men in particular, and not that women don't bond, but you all bond in a different kind of way at the barbershop, around sports, in fraternities, gangs, things of that nature, right? And so you need that. You need that circle where you can come together and you can relate to people that have had similar experiences as you. And so I'm so glad to hear you say that's something that you all have done, um, you know, to assist the fathers.
And it's important to have those safe zones to where men can, because men, we and I'm being honest, we can be very tough as far as our thoughts, our ways,
Mhm,
especially if we've received that generationally. And so, but I just thank God for my dad, because my dad was my role model. A lot of people can't say that. He taught me how to tie the tie. He taught me how to fish. We would go fishing. Um, my dad passed in 2015, and I had him in my life. So even now, I still have those moments where I cry and I miss my dad. So
mhm.
my dad would have talks with me. He say, "Son, it's all right for men to cry," but he grew up saying that it was not good.
Yeah.
It showed that you was weak and you wasn't strong. And
Mhm,
so then he started explaining to me the importance of being able to release the emotions correctly as a man, because you are a leader. And so if your emotions are not there correctly, then it's going to be hard for you to lead other emotions, meaning your wife or your children, depending on what route you would take. And so he always instilled that into me. Now you hear it so much about emotional health and mental awareness and mental health.
mhm,
Um, but back then, it didn't have the platform that is needed now, but it was very important, because even back then, my dad instilled that understanding in me. And so you can see the difference majority of the times with children who had that strong father, or who have a strong father or presence of a strong father in their lives, from the ones who don't. You
mhm,
know, I'm about to tell Mr. Hawkins' story, but I'm gonna tell it my way of about me. But I'm gonna use this analogy. I was afraid of Robert L. Jackson Jr., which was my dad, more than I was afraid of the police or the principal
Mm.
or the teacher, because they allowed paddling back then when I was in school. I was afraid of my dad, and not in a way of afraid that I couldn't speak with him, but I was afraid to dishonor him and disrespect him, and afraid that what he was going to do if I did get out of line. So let's be honest.
Ooh.
And so that kept me to where I am today. Of course, growing up, you make mistakes and you do things, but that kept me on a path that he instilled some things into me that helped me understand how great and successful I can be if I have the right mindset and understanding.
I love that. I'm going to see if we can get our viewers involved. How many of you who grew up around your dad in the household, or just, maybe you were in his household if he wasn't in yours, and you experienced the same thing that Mr. Jackson just mentioned, um, had more fear of your dad than you did of anybody else, from the
Yeah,
standpoint of disappointing him, dishonoring him. You know, you don't want to embarrass him in any way. If that was your experience, let me know in the comments. Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up or something. Let us know. As I really want to see if others have had that similar experience. I was too. In fact, I recently had a conversation with my mom about being fearful of my dad, but um, it wasn't in a way. I mean, I think it was a healthy fear.
Mhm.
Um, but my dad has always been kind of quiet, and that's been very mysterious to me, you
right.
know. Mhm.
Yeah, my father was quiet as well, but
Okay.
when he spoke, he definitely spoke knowledge. He would always, me and my brothers growing up, he would take us into the room. I was adopted, my adopted parents. He would take us into the room, and he would just talk to us for hours. He would tell us, this
Hmm.
is this is the type of woman that you need to marry, God fearing woman. This is the type of woman that you don't want to marry someone that if you're getting up going to church Sunday morning, she's coming in from the club Saturday night.
Mm.
you know, she said he always used to say, "Listen, don't ever rent from anybody. Purchase a home. When you're renting, you're just throwing your money away. You're making someone else rich. At least if you decide to sell your home, you can at least get some of your money back. You know,
Mhm.
he would tell us about savings. He would tell us about the type of car you should. These are the cars you need to stay away from. I mean, he would go on, and I would be in the room as a teenager, like, oh, I gotta go. Why is this guy doing this? But when I became an adult, when I got out of the military, the first thing I did was look for a home.
Mm.
The teachings that he instilled in me. Even though I didn't want to hear it then, but I
Mm.
appreciate it now. And that's the thing. He always used to say, "You got my last name. Don't embarrass me.
Mm.
Protect my name."
Protect my
And
name.
and that's what I think a lot of our kids are not doing now. They don't have that instruction. They don't value the name that they're under that they have. So it's like we have to be able to instill good moral and sound advice into our kids.
Mm-hmm.
That we wouldn't have to rely on government. We wouldn't have to rely on the police,
Yeah.
outside forces. If the men would just step up and police their own,
Mm-hmm.
our communities would be so much better.
Indeed, agreed. My sister responded, Daddy is the strong, silent type. When he speaks, we definitely pay attention. We do. And then Karen said that his father was not present in the way he wanted him to be. One thing he can say, though, was that he was the more emotionally safe parent. Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And believe it or not, though that is a great characteristic of men as being a safe place, because
Mhm.
when you come to the difference of even understanding the difference between male and female, um, and don't throw anything at me, Miss
I'm
Nicole.
not. Go ahead, do your thing.
But men are genetically logical thinkers. They're not. I'm not saying they're smarter, but we are logical thinkers, and women are emotional feelers. And so when he made that statement that men are his dad was a safe place, that's where that he can come to his dad or go to the father without any type of judgment, without any type of. But you're going to get a sound understanding. You're going to get some things that is needed, and you're going to get that logical thinking and logical talk. And with my children, it's funny, when my daughters got a little older, they would, when if I had to deal with them and discipline them, even talk, they would rather me spank them than talk to them, because when I talk to them, I talk to them for hours. I ask them questions. What's the benefit of this? What's the consequences? Why were you thinking this? What was going through your head when you made this statement or made this action? What was, and just like Mr. Hawkins was saying, they would say like, come on, Dad, I gotta go. What's going on? Going, but I would talk to them and give them that understanding. And so they considered me now as the safe place. And that's the same thing my daughter now, my oldest daughter, she didn't get me in the beginning because she thought I was, tough and hard, but I was grooming her. But now she calls me her safe place. And so that's where that comes from that understanding.
I love that. I love that. I could definitely say my dad is the same, like consistently. All of these 52 years, he is consistent. All right. Enigma, who was here in Tallahassee, and his dad just transitioned. So our condolences to you, my
Sorry,
brother.
sorry to hear that.
But he
Yeah.
said, I definitely feared my dad as a kid more than anyone else. Thank you for sharing that, E. Pumpkin said, my father was my hero. He set the bar for how a man should treat a woman. Yes,
Yes,
love
yes,
it.
love that.
Definitely love it.
Mm.
Yes.
She further said, I have so much respect for my father. I would never do anything to disappoint him. Beautiful, beautiful. Ish, thank you for being here, my brother, my freshman brother out of Gainesville. He said, I may have missed it, but how are we defining absent father? Is it zero engagement with the child every now and then, month spacing, etc.? How do we define that?
Well, absent father is where there's too much of a long period where there is no engagement at all, where there is no interaction at all, where there is no, just because you're not in a household, you can even be living in another state. But if there's daily reaction or daily communication or every other day communication or at least twice a week communication where you're communicating, you're interacting, you're having these phone conversations, there's still some knowledge being transferred from the father to the child, then that's still good, healthy involvement. But abstinence means when there is nothing taking place over a period of time. Once a month to me is absent. Once every 2 months to me is absent. I understand that if you have 365 days out of a year, you have 12 months out of the year, and if you only communicate three times or you only see your child three times without in the year, that's absent. You don't get any credit for that. And I'm a little different because I don't want men to be to the point where you're bragging on or you're talking about things that you're supposed to do. And that's where sometimes the it can be a misunderstanding where you want credit, in which because you're not, we deserve it, but we get it differently. But in the things that you're supposed to do, you're supposed to be that father, you're supposed to be that role model, you're supposed to be that first person that teaches your daughter how a man should respond. When my girls would grow up, and men in the church or men out, friends out, would say, "Oh, you're cute." They would respond, say, "Well, my daddy tells me that all the time," because I don't want some knucklehead coming and throwing some things at them, to make them hear certain things that can smooth them. I
Mhm.
tell them everything that they need to hear, so they'll be able to hear it from the right man and be able to deal with the right mate that they want to be a part of. So I tell them all the time they're beautiful, they're cute. So no one else can come and tell them and use it as a ploy to distract them into other things. And so they'll laugh, the men will laugh and say, and they'll say something else. They say, "Well, my daddy tell me that too." So it's like, and it's not they're not saying in a disrespectful or dishonoring way, but they're hearing it from their father. They need to hear the father's voice. So
Mm.
our young men and our young women,
Yes.
they need to hear their father's voice, because there's just so
Mm.
much power that comes from the voice of the Father in their ear. And that voice is not coming to them. I don't care if it's a distance, if it's still not coming on a regular basis, that's being absent to me.
Mm. And the voice of a stranger they will not follow. But anyway,
Right.
all right. So
I
let
want to
me
say that, but since you said it, amen.
let me pause here for a moment. We are a little more than halfway through our broadcast. So, for those of you who are just joining us, we are talking fatherhood. Again, June is Men's Health Month. We want healthy fathers. Our discussion is around why some fathers are MIA. I am on with the founders of Fathers M.I.A., Gernald Hawkins, Robert Jackson. And tell me again what MIA stands for you all again.
MIA stands for Fathers Motivated, Involved, and Active.
Okay, motivated, involved, and active. All right. So we got a few questions that I want to bring to our attention. And let me go back to Marjorie. She had a comment. She said, "My mother was a nurturer, but my dad instilled discipline and made us fearless, which made us successful in our own right. He taught us entrepreneurship. My mom is in awe until today. If we only had our mother, that may not have been our outcome." All right. Thank you for sharing that, Marjorie. We have Dr. Derek Standifer, who is out of Atlanta but visiting Tallahassee currently. He said, "My dad was not my biological, but he's my standard. The reason I am how I am with mine is because of how he was with his." And Dr. Standifer has two small children, a boy and a girl, and he is a single dad. He says, "What about providing for the child? If a man doesn't provide at least minimal needs, then he is absent. Is he absent?"
Well, again, it's the whole, as I said before, the father component to me is a function.
Mhm.
So providing is a part of the function. It is not just a title. So when
Mm,
you provide, you're providing not just knowledge, information, and wisdom, not just a platform of understanding what to do and what not to do, but you're also showing them and giving them an understanding what it means to even be a successful entrepreneur or a worker or a business person, being
mm,
able to deal with finances. Also providing also means financial support too. And so it's not, so it's a function, there's a whole component of things that should come from the father. So yes, I believe that if the father is not providing some form of financial support or whatever way, then he's absent to a certain point because he's not giving everything that the child should receive, and that's rightfully so, because again, this is a child that you created and asked to come into this world, so your job is to protect, provide, to instruct, to make sure they're successful in every area possible. So they need to see these things, understand these things, need to be taught these things, and support needs to come from every area that can. And I'm glad that question came up. Why is that? Because Mr. Hawkins was probably going to jump in, and we're dealing with this, but we also provide a way for fathers, because fathers may not want to step in their child's life or be a part of their child's life because they don't have the resources or means of finance. And so we have programs where we assist and help fathers to be able to get jobs, to be able to have. So we try to remove all the barriers, all the excuses out, so
mm.
they can be a successful father.
I love that. Mr. Hawkins?
Yes, one of the things I usually give the statistics of a absent father. I want to switch it up a little bit. Let's give a little bit of statistics of a present father. Children with the fathers involved are 40% less likely to repeat a grade in school.
Mm,
Children with fathers who are involved are 70% less likely to drop out of school.
mm,
Children with their fathers who are involved are more likely to get straight A's in school. We have to engage and be a part of our children's lives. It's very important. I always say, listen, we adults, we spell love the conventional way, LOVE. Kids spell love just a little differently. Kids spell love T-I-M. Time. It's like no matter what you buy them, they'll break it, they'll forget about it, play with it for a couple weeks, they forget about it. No matter how much money you spend, it'll never amount to the time you spend.
That's good.
Yes.
T-I-M-E. That's how kids see the love that's coming from an individual. The more time you spend with them, the more they feel safe, the more they feel love. I talked with some gentlemen, was like, man, my child, I was absent, I made a mistake, I'm trying to, come back from my past, from my mistakes. I said, man, just spend that quality time with them. But they don't want to see me. Say, listen, this is what you do. If you have their number, kids trust kids trust consistency. Text them. I love you. I'm thinking about you. You don't have to be nothing long. What are you doing? What are you up to? Even if you do not get a response, if you do this every single day and you're consistent with it, now that fear of you running again, it starts to dwindle.
Yes.
Put in the time. And I tell men, we put in time. Trust me, men know how to put in time. If we see a woman that we want, I don't care how many times she tell us no, we finna put that time in. We're going to be consistent. Every time we see her, don't let us get her phone number. We text her.
Well,
if you can do that for her, what more can you do for your child?
Yes, sir.
Great points. Great points. Right. Pumpkin said she works with girls, and I tell the fathers this all the time. And I think that was when you were saying that the girls are saying, my daddy tells me, this. Miss Jeanette down in South Florida said an excerpt from the editorial in our Sunday visitor paper, Beyond Financial Support and Physical Presence, fathers play a vital role in shaping their children's moral character and overall well-being. Their unconditional love, moral guidance, emotional support, and balanced parenting contributes to their children's emotional and cognitive development, helping them navigate the complexities of life with confidence and resilience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Miss Jeanette is down in Miami Gardens. Thank you for being here.
Listen, I always say, even in the Bible, when the disciples asked Jesus, how should we pray? The first two words that came out of Jesus' mouth was, our Father. He could have said our disciplinary, he could have said our provider, he could have said our savior, he could have said our waymaker, he could have said anything, but he said our Father. And Jesus would always use something that the people could relate to. But if you really look at it, our Father encompasses all that. He's a provider, he's a protector, he's a waymaker. He is the man of the house that will make a way out of no way. If he's there, he will protect his kid. I mean, mothers do that as well. I'm not shying away from the mothers. Mothers have been doing a great job, but it's something just a little bit different when it comes from that father. When a mother gives a child a gift, that child, he or she, that they love it. But when it comes from that father, sometimes it feels a little bit more special when it comes from a father. So when we, as men, we have to be that guide in the household. I know Robert using an analogy. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I know he's going to use it a little bit later. But it deals with the house. But he will use.
Go right ahead.
But Rob, my co-partner, he uses the analogy. Whenever you have a house, when the walls have holes in it, you can repair the wall. If the roof has holes, you can repair the roof. But if the foundation of the house is cracked, that house is condemned. fathers, we are the foundation of the house.
Mm.
And if we're not there, that house is cracked and that house is condemned. The foundation is condemned. That's why we see our kids going every which way but loose. Our kids are being involved, gravitating to other men that mean them no good. That's why a lot of our young boys join gangs, because of the fact that they're looking for the love of a man that they can look up to. They look up to some of these drug dealers. They look up to the gang members because of the fact that these men show our kids this false love, but they don't know how to tell the difference between the real love and false love. So they gravitate to this false love. And then when that child really comes into a circumstance where he really needs that man is again is nowhere to be found. Fathers, we must be that pillar. We must be the foundation not only of our household, but we need to be the foundation of our community.
Mm. Great point. So Dr. Standiford said, I have this running joke that my kids came out of me first. What if all men adopted that mentality? These kids came out of me. It's a different level of investment and pride. Actually, his comment, I was thinking this earlier and was gonna mention it, but just kind of got wrapped up in the show. I was curious, and I want to hear from you all, but any other man that is on the live, do men as boys think about having children? Think about having a family?
Well, I can give it from what we've been dealing with, what we've seen, and even from our own experience.
Mhm.
Initially, to be honest, that thought at a young age of having a family and children is taught early in with women, but not with men. Men are taught at a young age really how to be a man, how to be successful, how to be established. Because again, when you take on responsibility of a wife and children, all our thought process is different. We have to be established, be foundationally successful, so we can be able to be successful in being responsible and accountable for taking care of others. And so that's different. So when we're at a young age, that's not our first thought. That's not our thoughts that comes and says, "Oh, I'm going to be, I'm going to have children." It just naturally comes because it's embedded in us, especially if our fathers are there and have been there. We know that we're going to be that way. Our thought process, let's prepare ourselves. Let's make sure that we're foundationally stable in order to be successful in being able to handle the responsibilities of a family. And so, but that's not our thoughts. That's not our thoughts when we first come out and dealing with things, because we still want to kind of have some fun and think about those things. And yeah, and I have this running joke. So there's other person. I have this
Yeah, let
running
me hear this joke. Let me hear this joke,
the
Mr.
running
J.
joke is that they say women mature faster. And I say, I agree, okay. But men, we consistently mature. So when the woman stops maturing, we still are maturing.
Uh-huh.
I don't see you laughing.
Uh, and that was funny.
But
That
but
was
but
funny.
but but, but though, I agree with Mr. Jackson. Little girls, they grow up playing with baby dolls. They already learning how to nurture. They already learning
Mhm.
how to be that mother figure, because they're playing with their baby dolls. This is my baby. This is my baby. You know,
Mhm.
boys, we playing cowboys and Indians, or either army or whatever, playing football or playing sports. It's
Mhm.
always something. We're warriors. We
Mhm.
want to protect. So we don't always think about having kids, because
Okay.
we definitely protect. And then a lot of our boys, they are already being developed, or either being taught to be men at a young age. Because
Mhm.
they're in the house, the mothers tell them, "You're the man of the house." What a
So
great responsibility to put on a young boy.
right. So I'm glad you bring that point up as well. But I really was curious because I was thinking about that in our socialization as girls, women. Like you said, we have baby dolls and we are learning to nurture and care in that way pretending that this is our baby, right? And so I just wonder how that, if those thoughts even resonated with you all. Now I do see some men who have chimed in here. E said, yes, I've always wanted to be a father since I was in elementary school.
Wow, that's young, bro.
And but he probably had his father as well. Like he was
Mhm.
very close to his father, and he thought his father was like the best, you know. And so he thought, probably even as a little kid, like, I want to be a father like my dad, you know.
Right.
Now, with me, I wouldn't say elementary school, but probably maybe latter part of middle school, somewhere like that, because I was adopted at birth. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I didn't have I didn't know my biological family. So I always wanted to start my lineage. I wanted to have something that I knew that, I guess, blood. Even though, listen, my adopted parents were great, awesome. My father, he's awesome to this day. That man is he's been awesome to me. My
Nice.
biological mother, she is awesome. But I always wanted to have my own kids. And listen, men, we're not always going to, even with my kids, raising them in the house. I didn't always get it right.
Yeah.
Right.
So don't think because of the fact that I messed up, or because of the fact that I wasn't perfect, I'm not a great father. Listen, you're gonna get it. You're gonna have some blunders and some fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Pick the ball up and just keep going. Trust me, your kids will definitely appreciate that. You being vulnerable, letting them know. Listen, I apologize. I did this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Let
Indeed.
let him see that.
Indeed. So we got some other folks that have joined us. I definitely want to acknowledge them. And Ish, I'm gonna get back to your question in just a minute. Johnny Johnson is on with us. Thank you for being here, my brother. And Mr. Nick Maddox, the chairman of the Leon County Board of County Commissioners, is on with us. Thank you, sir, for gracing us with your presence tonight. Mr. Antoine Wright, the executive director of Big Bend Habitat for Humanity here in Tallahassee, he said, absolutely. My brother and I talk all the time about the fathers we knew we would be. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. All right. So Ish said, thanks for the data points. And I meant to also comment on those data points in terms of them being reversed. That was great. Mr. Hawkins, I appreciate that. He said, are there key indicators that we can target to be able to efficiently and effectively tackle this absenteeism?
Yes, I think we need to start earlier.
Mm,
I know we usually start talking to fathers after they've become fathers.
mm-hmm.
Right now, we're dealing with kids in our some of our programs that are not fathers yet, giving them the statistics of, we do the absent fathers as well. You know, with these kids, letting these kids know, if you're absent, this is how your kids may turn out. 85% of youth that grew up without their fathers are they grew up without their fathers are in prison. 85% of those youth. 71% of fatherless kids are high school dropouts.
Yeah.
85% of kids who have behavioral disorders come from a fatherless home. Now let's get these kids' minds to thinking. If your father wasn't in your life, don't
Mm-hmm.
repeat the cycle. We, we have these programs. Matter of fact, we're starting in North Miami. We're going to be starting a magazine ran by high school kids, ran by fatherless kids, giving them the ability to go out and create stories, go out in online magazine where they can actually go do interviews, go talk to people, engage with them about how they were with their fathers, either negative or positively. How did it affect your life? And hopefully we can partner with the Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins,
Mm-hmm.
go out and write and create stories and let them write it. For one thing, we want to be able to create journalists as well, journalists that look like us, so that we got too many other people telling our story. So we want journalists. We want to create some journalists that look like us, that's sympathetic, empathetic with us, know what we're going through, so that the story can maybe sound just a little bit different than the way other people are telling our story.
Absolutely. So Ish said, anecdotally, I believe those boys that are missing or longing for more from their fathers are envisioning what they will not do when they become fathers. Right?
And so true. And so to go back to what the questions about, do you think about it? And so and we talked, I would talk about it, but I all see, for me, it was inevitable that I was going to be a father because my dad was a good father. So
Mhm.
I had some good stock and good traits. So I didn't discuss it because I knew I was going to be a father. So I was preparing to make sure that I can be the father he was, so I can be the example he was by taking care of the family, emotionally, physically,
Mhm.
spiritually.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing about it is the community itself is only as strong as the men in it. The homes are only as strong as the fathers in it. And the
Yeah.
thing about it is, if you look at it with other, and I'm just going to say this, with other races, that are thriving to a understanding of when it comes to families, the men are the predominantly teachers and
Mm,
instructors in those communities.
yeah.
You look at some of the Jewish communities when they're walking to the synagogue. The
Mhm.
the children are walking with the father. The
Yeah.
father's not taking them there, dropping them off. They're walking with the father. So there's a principle that when you are walking or you're waking up or you're in the morning, you talk about and have these conversations about things with your family. And
Mm,
so it was inevitable to me that I was going to be a father. So I was just making sure I was preparing myself because, again, my dad was the greatest role model. He was my hero. When
mm,
I didn't want to hear him, when I didn't, at times, I didn't like everything that he did, but he, as Mr. Hawk said, he spent that time with me. I mean,
mm.
he really did. Even when I didn't want to at times, he
Yeah.
still spent that time with me. He was persistent. He showed me how to be a husband because how he treated my mother, how he respected her and loved her and cherished her. So that's when I told my wife, "You don't have no problems with me because my dad was a good teacher." And so those are the things that I learned, and it's needed. The father
Mhm.
is so important and is needed in the homes and in the community where we're not getting that understanding that the father is so important. And we
Mhm.
have to go against this misnomer or what society is presenting as a family. Again, how can you present a family and say that this is a family, this is a whole emotional, psychologically, this is a family when you are providing more, there's programs that provides more, there's programs that give more. When you're saying if the father is missing from the home,
Mm.
removed from the home, I would give more to the mother and the child.
Yeah.
That is crazy. They
Right.
should have programs to where if the father and the family is struggling, then you don't just remove everything. You help and assist and you put programs in place. Then little by little, when they get more established, then you can start removing some things because the stability is there. But you can't just say, I'm going to do more and give you more. So another thing that why fathers, and I'm sorry, I just get excited. So
I
forgive me.
see. I
Yep.
see. I'm gonna pause you just for a moment
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
said a whole lot right there, and I hope that the viewers are recognizing that he's saying this is systemic, meaning
yes.
this is intentional.
Right.
Yeah.
I was
That
going to say that, but you
the
said it.
fathers
Right.
not being in the house is a benefit to the family from a financial standpoint, from a benefits,
Right.
food stamps,
Right.
housing, childcare, whatever. But it is not a benefit for
Mm,
the father not to be in the household. It is not. Don't believe the hype,
yeah.
okay?
Don't
Do
believe
Correct.
it.
Not whatsoever.
Mm-mm. So I know you got another point, but I got like
No,
a
no. Go
bunch of
ahead.
folks
I'm
on
fine.
here, so I gotta give a shout out to my
Yeah.
brother in
Absolutely.
love, CJ, who is on here. I appreciate you, my brother, for being here. And CJ further said, I didn't have a father nor father figure around growing up. I had to live and learn a lot of situations, and I try my best to be the best father that I can be, breaking the generational curse. Amen. Yes.
That's the
Much
key.
respect. Much respect.
Yeah,
See,
that's the key right there. Right there.
much
Much
Because a lot of people, when they don't have it, they don't seek for the knowledge to become great at it. They'll just go with the flow of the generational and say, don't worry about it. But he's going past that. And he says, I'm seeking after it. Of course, we make mistakes, but he's
Mhm.
saying he's not going to let that happen to on his watch. That's awesome. Much respect. Love you.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And then my fifth grade teacher is on here, Miss Jones. I love Miss.
That's my pastor wife there.
I
Hey,
know. I love Miss Jones. I
I,
remember in fifth grade, I called her
Yes.
by mistake. That's just how much I loved her. I'm so glad you're on here, Miss Jones. I really am. Nick said, didn't know my dad, but I knew I'd be a good one to my own kids. And Nick is a great father to his
Absolutely.
children. E said, Nicole's absolutely right. I wanted to be my father or be better. Um, Dr. Standifer, I didn't always want kids. I don't know many who wanted kids. They just wanted to practice having kids. But my biological father was not present, and I vowed to not be like him in that regard. And we got Mr. Limba Maslino, also known as Big Holy, down in Pensacola, I believe, or Panama City, somewhere over there. He said my father was in the home and I watched the example that he set. He made some mistakes, but it was ingrained in me to be a father. Thank you, brothers, all of you all, for your comments regarding your thoughts about fatherhood, especially as a boy or a teen. All right, go ahead and make your point, Mr. Jackson.
Oh no, that was you said it. I was going to
Oh,
just
okay.
you said
Miss,
it about being systematically in place, and
Mhm,
that's the key that we have to understand. And this is why we encourage the men to say we understand. We
mhm.
have an organization that we are partnering with. It's called Black Fathers Weekend, and we do some events and some things to where we did a work fair or a job fair. We brought it to the streets and we brought it to under the tree where a lot of the men are hanging out. We brought it and they just loved this and they felt like, wow, you're bringing this all to us. So we go to where it needs to where we need to be in order to make the impacts effectively. And so that's sometimes coming out of the comfort of behind the name or behind the building or in the office and really go to the streets and really show an effort and let them know how important they are. And they loved us for it.
Indeed. All right, very good. Well, we are a little bit over our time, but I want to
Wow.
give an opportunity for you all to tell folks how they can connect with you. My brother-in-law CJ said thank you to y'all. So yeah, give us some closing remarks and tell folks how they can connect with you.
well, closing remarks. One of the things we do to help fathers is we have a program where we have rehabilitation, where we do an assessment with fathers, giving them the necessary tools to be successful. Then we got reintegration, the process of assisting and building the necessary bond between father and child. Then we have mediation, where we discuss co-parenting and building both parents so that we can create and foster a cultivating positive atmosphere for the child. And then we have reconciliation, where the parents are working together on agreement that's planned out, and so that we can do the steps necessary to build a positive foundation for that child. And then we have mentorship for the fatherless. But you can reach us on all our social media platforms. But definitely our website, fathersmia.org. That's with the S. Fathersmia.org. Fathers MIA on our Facebook, Fathers MIA on our Instagram. And we definitely want to be here to be the bridge builder for fathers, children, and
Absolutely. Linva, hold on one moment, Mr. Jackson. I gotta mention Lynn because he is actually doing a fatherhood initiative in North Florida. From Pensacola to Jacksonville. He stopped here in Tallahassee and doing some of the work here as well. So would love to connect the two of you all with Brother Lynn is doing. So definitely he mentioned that in the chat. So I wanted to bring some recognition to that.
Yes, we do workshops. So listen, invite us. We do workshops.
Okay.
Definitely
Good
workshops.
deal. Good deal. Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Well, thank you for the extra time. I know I said enough before, but I just get passionate
You
about,
good. You good.
things.
We love that
But
passion.
but again, as Mr. Hawk said, go to our website, visit, get to know us. We have things in place that we have galas for the young ladies where we do a simulated father daughter dance, and we have first responders, police officers, and firefighters that escort these young ladies, and they dress up, and we pay for the gowns, the makeup, and everything. And we have a simulated father daughters dance. A nice ball, everything is decked out, nice food and everything for them to experience this type of relationship. And then even with our first responders, they continue with these high schoolers and stay a part of their lives. We have reports and letters how these ladies are just elated and excited how these first responders are still part of their lives. And then we have golf tournaments and bowling tournaments for the men that we mentor, the young men. And then, of course, Mr. Hawk said we have the curriculum and the classes to support and give the men the necessary tools and the skills that they need to be effective part of their child's life. We don't want to bring devastation to that child twice, to where you wasn't there the first time for whatever reason. So we want to make sure that emotionally, mentally, you have the tools necessary to be that pivotal foundation in the child's life the second time. So there's things that they have to go through before they're able to even reconnect, because we want to make sure that they're stable and secure to be able to have that relationship again with their child. So we're on the website, fathersmia.org, Facebook Fathers M.I.A. You have to put that in sometimes because you'll get something else. And then and we just work together with local dignitaries, local cities and local commissioners, local cities, to bring awareness to how important fathers are within the house, within a child's life, and within a community.
Absolutely. So we got folks chiming in. Brother Eugene Larry, who is a barber here in Tallahassee, he said the greatest gift my father or man could give a child would be the knowledge of self. Enjoy the conversation. Thank you for being on here, my brother. My sister said this conversation has been amazing. I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you both for being on here. I'm hoping this has benefited the viewers. If it
Yes.
has, if y'all will let us know in the comments, please.
Please.
We're 501c3, so please donate. Please support us.
Yes.
We don't want to just depend on government. We're trying to help our community. We want
Indeed.
to be a blessing to all fathers.
Yes. And that's fathersmia.org for the website.
Yes.
All right. So you can go to the website and keep up with what they have going on, as well as follow them on social media to see some of the work that they're doing as well. We got Dr. Sherry on here. She said, kudos and bravo for this topic. Thank you for being on here. And Karen said, awesome I think he meant segment. I appreciate you, Pumpkin, as well. Thank you, Miss Jones. Said Nicole, praise God for this most important topic. Yes, we are closing out Men's Health Month with the talk on fatherhood. Y'all, let's keep this conversation going.
Keep it
Please, please,
going.
please. Yeah, share this with your friends, your family members, your coworkers, your church members, your loved ones, anybody that you think can benefit from this and the work that these brothers are doing, because they are out here doing the work and assisting men and their children, fathers and the children in a really big way. So appreciate it so very much. Marjorie said the work you are doing is so impactful. We'll be sure to follow and support future events. Yes, appreciate it. Ms. Jones, this is an awesome initiative. I have witnessed it personally. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, love it. All right. And my brother in love, CJ said, I'll follow. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank
And if
you.
I can, Nicole, I just want to say to you, Miss Everett, thank you so much for this
Oh,
opportunity and allowing us to be on your platform in front of, and trusting us to be in front of your people and your platform.
absolutely.
I just thank you so much, and I expect great things that's going to happen to you because of your heart. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. Listen, I was touched by seeing you both. I think I saw you on Jawan's show.
Yes,
Uh
later.
yes. Down in South Florida via Facebook again, but that's the power of this media. So and so, from that got connected and I'm glad I did. So, that's what we're here to do. We got to support one another because we all we got. And so, again, we're gonna connect you with Lynn here in North Florida so you all can collaborate and see what we can do to keep this movement moving forward. All right. All right. So for those of you who are new to my platform, I invite you to subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. Subscribing and support, and we need all the support we can get. And so we are here on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, all about connecting the community and mental health, trying to encourage us to get our checkup from the neck up. So have a great rest of the evening. And tell a father that you love them, you appreciate them, hug them, tell them we need them. We need y'all. We
We
need
need, we
y'all.
need, we need you. We need you.
Definitely.
We need y'all. All right, good people. We'll see y'all next time. Good night.